intro, my name is Mandy and I am a part of the SGI team. I am excited to be leading this webinar tonight entitled Why HR is Critical to Winning Government Contracts. When it comes to competing and winning and implementing government contracts, HR is critical to the success of small and growing businesses. For this workshop, we welcome Ms. Lakeisha Robichaud.
Robichaud.
Say it again.
Robichaud.
Robichaud, I apologize, Robichaud, the CEO of Chief of Minds. Chief of Minds is a full-service human resources HR leader with the expertise and support that allows you the autonomy to effectively run your business, whether it's just you, you're looking to hire for your first staff, or you're looking to grow your business and ensure human resources functions of your company are intact. As a reminder, this webinar is sponsored by DOTD through its DBE services program. So we are going to jump on now. Ms. Lakeisha, can you please let us know a little bit about yourself and how you got into this space?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here this evening with everyone. Outside of what you said with about Chief of Minds, how I got here journey, actually my background is in human resources. So before I launched Chief of Minds, I worked in regional management, human resources director positions for CVS Pharmacy, Dollar General, Loyola University, Save a Center. And throughout my journey, I love human resources. And so I was in the HR field and in business management as well. And when I went, my last job before launching Chief of Minds, I was the executive director of the Recovery School District. And there I was over everything from Baton Rouge to Shreveport, and including human resources. So when we recruited with the Recovery School District, if everyone is familiar with the Recovery School District, we recruited high performance charters to actually come in and help run the failing schools that were in the area. And so when the charter schools were coming in, they actually were trying to recruit me to come in and run their human resources or run the charter schools. And I actually got the entrepreneurship bug again. That scratch started coming back because I owned a staffing company a couple of years before. And so I told him, instead of hiring me to actually be your HR director or the CEO of a charter school, why not just contract with me in human resources and I'll run your operations, HR. And so we did that, and the rest is history. Chief of Minds was actually born from the demand and need of human resources and operations.
That is awesome. I think that a lot of times when people are, building businesses, they oftentimes don't see the demand. So to have that self-awareness, and especially to be able to work in a corporate space where that attests to, now it's the birthing of this entrepreneurial journey, that's amazing. So question, when it comes to small businesses and human resources, what do you think that CEOs usually get wrong?
So a lot of times, one, not having an employee handbook, not really understanding the importance of an employee handbook, because it's usually CEOs will think about it or want one, honestly, when it's too late. After they've hired employees, they get an employee complaint or they get an employee lawsuit. And so the first question we're asking, okay, was let us see the policies. So let us see your employee handbook. And it's like, oh, I don't have that. So one is not having an employee handbook. Another is really assigning HR duties and tasks to people that are not comfortable with it, because a lot of times they don't see the value in HR, unfortunately, up front. When you're starting a business, you're limited, you're strapped with revenue. So you're like, okay, that's something HR, I can deal with that later. So if they give it to someone, I would say oftentimes what we see is someone in operations, someone like an office manager, or someone in like a payroll field, oftentimes they're uncomfortable and they don't really know human resource. They don't understand the employment laws. They don't understand compliance and what that takes. And so what happens is it starts hurting the company because employees get upset that they've taken on this task that they know nothing about, or the
Yeah.
company again is in a position, that is hurting them because they don't really know the ins and outs. And so they may again get a lawsuit or something like that. So
Mhm.
oftentimes that's what it is. It's really not having that employee handbook, assigning it to someone that really doesn't understand human resources, and instead of someone that does, or maybe sending them to some type of workshops, what have you, so that way they can get the training and development that they need to really
Yeah.
operate and run HR.
hmm That's good. That's good. And sometimes it's the smallest things, right? An
Yes.
employee book is a small piece to a huge puzzle, but if you are missing that piece, your whole puzzle isn't complete. So that is great. What
And
solution does I'm sorry, you said
no, I
something?
just wanted to add one other thing because this is a big one too. I actually just thought about this. The big one too is really that I see CEOs do is really not differentiating and properly classifying employees and contractors.
Yeah.
Because again, with when you hire an quote unquote an employee, there are payroll taxes that are taken out. So there's more money that's put out. And so from a savings standpoint, they may hire them as a contractor, or really just not knowing, not that it's anything intentional, just not knowing. And so that's another thing that I see oftentimes that happens with hiring with CEOs is really hiring or misclassifying the employee versus the contractor, and actually having to go back and pay when a contractor actually received their 1099 at the beginning of the year when it's time to file taxes, and they thought taxes were being taken out of, and
Yeah.
they go to the Department of Labor, and actually this is something that the employer actually owes them because they do an audit. So that's something else that's really big that we see.
Yeah, that's really great. What solution does Chief of Minds offer, and what is an outsourced human resources? So you just brought up contracting. So, what solutions does Chief of Mind offer, and what is exactly is outsourced human services? Human
So
resources.
yeah, so we Chief of Minds offers outsourced human resources, which is being your HR department. We're not an employee. You actually get a team of employees, a team of individuals that know human resources, payroll, benefits, recruitment, and staffing. So it's outsourced, whereas we're not on the payroll function. You don't have to pay taxes for us, but not only do you get one individual, but you get a team of individuals serving as your HR department. And so the services that we offer is employee handbooks, training and development, payroll management, and staffing and recruitment. So temporary and permanent recruitment. Also employee group benefits. We provide employee group benefits, the quotes, administration of it. So you're really all around human resources departments, really what we offer. Even unemployment claims management. When our clients get an unemployment claims, we sit in and we talk with the judge. We appeal it. We send them over all the documentation that they need for this. And thankfully, we've never lost a case with that. So everything that you can think of when it comes to those type of things with HR, we provide those services and really serve as our client's HR department.
hmm That's interesting, because when a lot of times when people think of outsourcing work, most of the times it's like maybe one or two persons to come in and assist or guide that company. But it's like you guys are the whole department. It's like, why have an HR department when we can hire CEO of Minds, as the entire department? So
Absolutely.
that is an amazing offer that you guys solution that you guys offer. What are some additional steps that small businesses who are seeking contracts need to have in place?
So one additional step is really building a solid team, especially when you're going after contracts, really understanding what type of team do you need? What is the skill sets that you need your team to have, and really going after and partnering. And when I say partnering, not just, I know some people really don't like the joint venture, so it doesn't have to be a joint venture. It can be a teaming agreement that you have. but really building out a well-rounded team that has the expertise that you need in order to win that contract. Or when it's time, if once you've won the contract, how are you going to execute, the terms and the scope of work that is inside of that contract? So that's definitely a route, and really also having your processes in place, because once you get a contract, they're expecting you, to hit the ground running and to have everything in place. So one, going back to that employee handbook, because that's so important. And then you look at your, depending on what type of contract you have, but the type of payroll, what does that payroll schedule look like that you need them to have? Also, is it certified payroll that they need? So having the resources and the vendors in place, going and, talking, okay, I need payroll. This is a payroll management company. Can you all do this particular schedule? Is it going to be direct deposit? Having that in place and having it outlined, because when you hire employees, when you get a contract, they are testing you just like you're testing them. So you want to be well suited when you're actually building out that team. And when you also hit the ground running, maybe SOPs as well, because every team member, when you build out, they really need to know what their role is. So do you have a solid job description in place for them? And sometimes building out that team, as far as getting contracts, it may not always be an employee. It may be a contractor. So of course, an employee would have an actual job description. And please, by all means, if you have a job description, have that employee sign that job description, because you want to cover yourself when it comes to job descriptions. Because if you do have to terminate an employee, which hopefully you don't, but if you do, or if an employee files a complaint against you based on something that you told them to do, or some work that you assigned them, one of the things that the judge is first going to ask, or an employment lawyer, they're going to ask, okay, well, let me see your job description if you are requiring this employee to do it. So you want to make sure that you have that signed, or if it's a contractor, or what does that contract look like? Do you have an actual contract, an agreement put forth in place with them? Do you need things like conflicts of interest? All of those things. So when building out a team, you have to make, or should make, the necessary documents be in place, and then different resources that you need, and making those contacts ahead of time. Because sometimes with the RFP or the RFQs come out, they have a tight turnaround, 5 or 10 days. So build, what I like to say is build your bench ahead of time. If you know that the type of contracts that you go after, that you're going to need this particular role, that particular role, build that bench out so you can be ready to go. Know what your possible budget may look like, and who will run like your back office support, so that way you can really work on doing the work versus all of that back office, documentation work.
Yeah, so you can work in your business and not on your business.
Exactly.
And that CEOs, entrepreneurs get caught up in a lot is working in your business and doing all the back office stuff, that you can't hire employees because you're doing the back office work, to where you can't work on the business to try to get more sales, to try to increase the revenue, to try to get people to come and work for you. Something interesting you said was having the job description. When you have a contract with someone, right? Let's say they are someone that you contracted out. Would you happen to say that, let's say if you're like, hey, I need this service, is not in our contract, would you suggest just making sure you have a paper trail, or having to sign a whole new contract?
So if it's not inside of the contract, I definitely say I would have I would either have an addendum to the contract. If it's not a service or something that's normally provided, but they can provide it, then we would do an addendum to the contract to add that in there. If it's too large, let's just say from, I guess maybe a liability or the services scope, then do an additional contract, something that's totally different than the one that you had. So it really just depends on what those services are, how it extends out the scope of work for that particular contract, but you always want it in writing. And even if, I'll be honest with you, even if it's not an official addendum, which I highly recommend always, if it's something in email, that they've agreed to or what have you, at least you have a paper trail with documentation, because when it comes time for, you to pay them and for the results that you want something that you can go back and defer to, because that contract, regardless if you have a subcontractor, at the end of the day, you have the contract, being the primary contractor, so it lies on you. So you want to cover yourself from A to Z in any situation, because you're still going to have to produce it, regardless of, if the subcontractor or not, then you can be held liable.
Great. That's good. What are some small steps that small businesses can take today in order for them to set up better HR practices?
So one, I would say, going back to the job descriptions, because oftentimes that doesn't happen. Update your job descriptions also. Update your job descriptions at a minimum on an annual basis. Just go back and take a look at them and see if the roles have changed. Now, of course, in every job description really should be, now this is not mandatory, but I recommend it, that you have that last bullet when you talk about duties and responsibilities and other duties as assigned. In case of things that come up throughout the year or what have you, that may not be just specific to that particular job description, because employees will come and say that, well, oh, this is not in my job description. Okay, well, you see that bullet at the bottom that says, and other duties as assigned? Well, that's a kind of like a catch-all or all-inclusive. So updating your job descriptions, making sure that when you revise them and you update them, actually notate that at the bottom of the job description. So you may put REV 7/22 to know that it was revised and updated July 2022. Making sure that the employee signs it. If an employee does not want to sign the job description, then they really shouldn't work for you, because that means that they're not agreeing to the duties and responsibilities. So you really need to have a conversation with that employee and see whether or not you want to move forward with them. Mm-hmm. Also, I would say the employee handbook. You want to look at the employee handbook on a daily, I'm sorry, not a daily basis, on an annual basis. And you want to go in and update it, see if there's any policies that have changed, any laws that have changed, any rules that may be particular to your industry. Update that. And then once you update it, have all employees sign it. Send them, if it's electronically, send it out to them electronically, ask them to review and sign it. But do this on an annual basis, because laws change all the time. You may want to update your policy. So let's just say your dress code policy, your social media policy, whatever it is. When you do make a change in it, update the employees, have them sign off on it, because that's so important to go back. It's really to cover you. You're reducing the liability when you go back and do that and you have them sign it. If an employee says that they don't want to sign it, again, this goes back to whether or not you want to keep them on board, which I recommend. If they don't want to sign something, it may not be the right fit for them, because this is covering you as the employer and you have to protect yourself. So employee handbooks is another one that's major, that's important. Offer letters. Oftentimes you'll see that in an email, a company will make an offer, but I really recommend on company letterhead that you have an actual structured offer letter that it details, of course, the employee's name, the type of benefits that are included, any type of training that they should receive, the rate of pay that they have, how often they will pay. Because in Louisiana, by Louisiana law, you have to let an employee know how they will get paid and the payroll frequency. So what that pay cycle is, whether you pay bi-weekly, weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, you need to let them know, and it has to be in writing to them. So you need to send that out as well. Like I said, the benefits, and then they need to sign it. If there's any type of screenings, like let's just say that you have a background check or drug screen, you need to have the verbiage in that offer letter stating that your employment is contingent upon successful completion of, background check or drug screen or something like that. So having that verbiage in there is important. But again, I go back to making sure that the employee signs the offer letter, because I've seen this happen several times where an employee does not sign the offer letter. Payday comes, and then they're saying that they were supposed to get a different rate. Nobody has anything to go to, especially if this was a verbal offer that was made. And so you have a disgruntled employee because they're not getting paid what they were told they were going to get paid. And then the employee is upset because they feel that the employee is trying to say something different than what was agreed upon. So you can take all of that confusion away by having them sign the offer letter and give them a time frame. When you make an offer to an employee, you can give them a time frame, let them know that this offer letter is valid until 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever you may have told the employee when you offered it to them. If it was verbal, because you should follow up with a written offer letter, but make sure you have something that's on there, and you need to have a time too. So if it's going to be, 3 or 4 days from now, put what that date is, and then put a cutoff time. Because what happens if you don't do that is it may linger. An employee may say, okay, well, let me think about it. Let me discuss it with my husband or my wife, and I'll get back to you. And so maybe a week later, and they're still saying that they're thinking about it. And who's left hanging on to see what decision was made? That's the employer. And if they're not going to make a decision, then you need to move forward, of course, and you may have another candidate in the pipeline that you want to make that offer to. So don't position yourself that way. Have a time, have a date, and let them know that after that, this offer goes away if they don't respond at that particular time. Mm-hmm. So those are some things with the offer letter that I would say I see a lot that is very helpful for a small business to have when moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Good. So many of our DBE partners discuss partnering with like-minded businesses. When it comes to human resources, how do you balance who does what and sharing of human resources or resources in general?
So really balancing who does what is having assignments, the roles, having titles of this is what you're going to do. Here's a description of, what you're going to do as well. So if it's if it's a team agreement, when you have DBE partners or even a joint venture, having to say that, look, this is our resources offer, or this is our CFO, or this is our quality coordinator for this particular project, having them an outline job description of the duties and tasks that they're going to complete. And then what their titles are, what are the deadlines of that scope of work that they're actually doing, and have that being transparent with everyone. Because a lot of times when you have partners that come together, it can be confusing because one person, people working in different states, different cities, and work is going on constantly. So definitely having that. I would also say a project management tool that everyone has access to. So that way you can see where you are on a certain project, who are the tasks assigned to. And so you see something as this is happening fluidly in real time. So everyone is updating where they are. You have your different resources. You still have the budget inside of this project management tool, so you can see where we're at if you're on task. So I think that's really first and foremost, to really have a nice, a solid project management system that everyone has access to. They know their roles, and really having a project manager that manages that. Because this goes, Mandy, back to what you were saying before. Oftentimes as small business owners, we get caught up in doing in the weeds of things, and not on it. And so not having someone to really manage who is doing what and making sure that progress is actually happening steadily like it's supposed to, that causes issue, that causes bottlenecks, things slow down, and you may not hit the deadlines that you need to. So having a point of contact where everyone can who everyone can go to is very important. One other thing I wanted to add and then storage. Some project management systems actually have storage, but I would say all the documentation that you need, whether it's the SOPs from a human resources standpoint, how everyone is getting paid, is very important, whether you use Dropbox or OneDrive, but having documentation in place so everyone can go back and reference the things that are important in this particular contract. You need to store that. But yes, especially the payment piece, how having the terms of, when people will get paid, whether they're contractors or whether they're employees, do they need to invoice you? What are the cycles that they invoice? What's the schedule that it's on? All of that is important, but it needs to be outlined. It needs to be in black and white. It can't exist in someone's head. Because if something happens, I don't like using the term people say, if you get hit by a bus today or tomorrow. My thing is, if you win the lottery today or tomorrow, one of your partners, and they just want to walk away, you have systems in place, you have the information in place, so that way the project does not fall apart.
Yeah, that's good. Especially when you have multiple people that's working within the business or within a project. If there's only one person that knows everything or have access to everything, anything can happen. Yeah. And then you find yourself running around trying to figure out how are we going to, that person could just quit They just be like, you know what, I'm done, I quit. And if that person quits, then you have to spend all of that time trying to rebuild on a project, when in actuality, if you can just go to those documents, you'll have, it'll be a smoother transition. Um,
Exactly.
so we know that you have a conference coming up. So it's Biz Chiefs Business Conference. So I was looking at the theme, and it's called The Power of Execution. And I love that theme, especially coming out of the woodworks of COVID, right? A lot of people started stuff, a lot of people quit. Everybody just was like, I gotta figure this out, because if I'm ever in a COVID situation again, I want to be able to pull myself up and, just go. But a lot of that came with the failure of execution. So to know that you titled it The Power of Execution, I think that the title itself is just powerful. So that's really exciting. Would you like to share a little bit about the conference? How do people register? What can people expect? And who are some of the speakers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so this year's theme is the Biz Chiefs Conference with the power, the thing being the power of execution. And just like you said, it being so important to actually execute, because during COVID, a lot of people established businesses. They went back to school, they learned a lot, they did a lot of training courses. Some people changed careers.
Mhm.
But one thing that I saw constantly is things that they were learning was a lot of data knowledge, a lot of data transfer, but not execution of that. Just
Mhm.
continuously being a student, which is great, but when are we going to take what we learn and actually implement and execute it so that we can get the results and the value, honestly, of what we spent all that time doing. So in the conference, it's for entrepreneurs, it's for CEOs, small business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs that really want to grow and scale their business. And so that's why we have a diverse lineup of speakers that are all different topics. And some of the topics that we have actually were based on last year's conference, that our attendees told us that they wanted to hear. We asked for their thoughts. And so some of the topics are financial strategies. How do you increase revenue and profit inside of your business? So whether it's adding a different revenue stream, or really looking at your expenses and overhead, because that's one thing as small business owners, that's always something that we should be looking at. But are we really analyzing and looking at the expenses that we do need? How sometimes it can be the detriment inside of a business. So the financial strategies is one. Overhead. And so overhead, we have the Assistant Vice President of Auction Healthcare System, who is over support services. He's talking all about operations, because one of the things we actually did a live earlier this week. It was either earlier this week or last week. My weeks are starting to collide together, uh, but he was sharing how small businesses, they want to do business with small businesses. And in there, especially in their diversity and inclusion area, there's not a lot of times coming to them, the systems, the operations is not in place, the SOPs, because they're going to ask questions that if this happened, A, B, C, and D happen, okay, what is the backup plan to it? So really understanding what's needed to be sustainable for them to go ahead and say, okay, yes, let's move forward. Like the contracts are there, the revenue is there, but the businesses have to be positioned. So he's talking all about operations. We also have a trademark attorney. So businesses that want to get, their book copyrighted or their brands copyrighted and trademark, that's a really hot topic right now, because people are trying to see how do they protect their name, how to protect their data. So Kiana McGee is speaking about that. Kenyatta Sparks, who actually is with DBE, he's one of our speakers, and he is talking all about the DBE contracts, getting certified. What does that process look like? And then also some of the funding that's out there that's coming that people really need to know about, but they have to be in position again to be able to take advantage of that. So he's going to talk about how you can get in position for that, how they can help you get in position for that, and then the importance of contracts. Also building your team. I'll be speaking about that, building your team and human resources, compliance, things that small business owners need to know. And what I've seen has actually taken businesses down because they do not have strong HR operations in place. We have Anthony Kimball, who is going to speak about real estate development, really building up your portfolio, so that way you can create sustainable generational wealth on the business side and the personal side. We have Coriel Dubose, who's going to talk about digital products, turning service-based businesses into digital products. So that's some passive income that you can generate. Mark Monroe, who is an entrepreneur, but he also teaches about stocks and options trading. So that's a hot topic as well. So if you want to know about, how can you get into that particular market? What do you need? What are you looking for? And so he's going to be really speaking all on that. Brandy Flippin is going to talk about creating product-based businesses. That's a pivot that she took during the pandemic when she was a fitness trainer, but she actually turned around and turned a product-based business and made millions of dollars within a couple of months very quickly. So those are some of our speakers. In order to register for the conference, it is conference.bizchiefs.com /execution 2022. And I'll actually put it in the comments section. But we're so excited. Actually, Kenyatta is he was our guest speaker last year. So he's returning this year. It is a wealth of knowledge, that is shared. Savitri was a speaker last year for us. And so it is a phenomenal conference to really position anyone that really wants to grow in sales, because there's something for everyone. And then we also have on Sunday, the Biz Chiefs Brunch. With the Biz Chiefs Brunch, it is all about empowerment. The empowerment we're talking about leveraging finances and wealth, also self-care, as we go through really balancing that. And that's going to be on Sunday, but it's a phenomenal lineup and weekend, and I am truly, truly excited about it.
Mm-hmm. And where is it going to be? What city is it located in?
It is in New Orleans. I apologize. It's in New Orleans at the Hotel St. Vincent.
Okay. All
and
right.
I'm putting that link
in the comments.
Yeah.
Awesome. Those were some heavy hitters you started naming. I saw you and Mr. Kimball on the live last night. I jumped saw you guys on live and I was like, oh, this is good. This is good.
Yes, come join us.
Guys were definitely dropping some nuggets. I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm tuned in. All right. That is all of the questions that I actually have for you, but we want to open the floor for Q&A. So we know we had a few people that possibly, let's see if someone submitted any questions. Let me check in the comment box. So we don't have any questions at this time. Now, Lakeisha, before we turn it over to Kenyatta, who's actually speaking tonight too, he's going to give us a little insight on what he has going on. Are there any final words that you want to leave with our audience today?
Yes. So I would say when it comes to human resources and attaining government contracts, or once you've won the government contracts, please don't short the HR piece of it, because it can definitely make or break you if you don't have the right people in place, if you don't have the right accountability pieces in place with your employee handbook, your job descriptions, and of course with the payroll as well. So those are really three in an offer letter. Those are really four areas that I would say are really like a non-negotiable that you should have in place automatically going in to win your contract, or once you got it, so that way next steps will be much, much easier for you, and it's going to cover you from a compliance standpoint.
Yes, ma'am. And Ms. Zonda actually had a question. She said, is the wellness team in place for Sunday?
Wellness team. Give me, do you mean as far as like a panelist that's going to speak about wellness?
She said yes.
Okay, so we have Dr. Alicia Reed is going to talk about wellness and self-care. She's one of the panelists for Sunday. Actually, our panelists is Brittany Temple, Dr. Alicia Reed, Kalisha Garrett, and Coriel Dubose on our panel team for the brunch on Sunday.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Miss Lakeisha. We really, really appreciate you jumping on with us again. We apologize so much for the technical difficulties we ran into. You have been amazing. Definitely gave us a lot of insight. This was mind blowing, right? Especially when it comes to starting off business, being in small business. I think when people think of the HR aspect, they always think of the bigger businesses. And they think of like these big box stores or these huge companies. But HR practices are so important, even to these small businesses. Even if it's just 1, 2 employees, it's very important to start that early. So when you are growing, it's all about just revision and just making it a tighter train. So we definitely appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us. And we're going to pass it over to Mr. Kenyatta to tell us a little bit more about what services DOTD through its DBE services provide. You can take it, Kenyatta.
Thank you for having me.
Great
Oh, you're
job, Mandy. I appreciate you, Miss Lakeisha, making time in the evening to be with us this evening. You always come with some wonderful knowledge, man. I'm excited right now. My legs shaking underneath the table right now for the conference, right? It's going to be phenomenal, man. And then I have a chance this year to be in person. So, as Ms. Mandy said, my name is Kenyatta Sparks. I'm the program manager for SJB DB Supporter Services. And that just simply means we have a contract with DOTD to help them facilitate the DBE program, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That's for all minority and women-owned businesses. That allows us the opportunities to have platforms like this to bring on great guest speakers, as Ms. Lakeisha. Obviously, we got a phenomenal one coming up in a few weeks with Ted James. He's going to come on and speak about different aspects and opportunities through SBA. But for us, once you get certified as a DBE firm, we're able to provide you unlimited technical support at no cost. Everybody that knows me, I get super excited when I have an opportunity to talk about that, because those are the things that you are able to implement to be able to grow your business. A lot of times people get stagnant in their growth is because they don't have the cash flow to hire individuals to sit in the seats of most blueprints that successful entities, successful businesses have. And because the federal government knows that, they'll allow a certain amount of money to DOTD to hire us as a consultant. And we're able to sit in those seats to help in those areas at no cost, y'all. It's free. Like tonight, it was free to attend. Everything we do is just to be able to help you win, right? And we bring great speakers on. We happen to have Miss Savitra as one of our partners that's able to bring on the speakers like we have tonight. And she's, we're looking to ramp everything up, finishing off throughout the rest of the year. I'm happy that Ms. Mandy is on the team now to be able to continue to do a great job of facilitating for us and asking some great questions. So again, man, we just, want to continue to offer these opportunities. The thing that Ms. Lakeisha was saying about having this structure in place, y'all. I was fortunate to speak at a workshop at a church, and the pastor started praying over the attendees. And one of the things the main thing that he prayed for was structure, getting your house in order, right? Having a system. He gave the example of Chick-fil-A. He said, man, you can ride past Chick-fil-A and the line can be wrapped around the whole building and you still gonna get in line. But you ain't gonna do that at McDonald's or Burger King, right? Because you'll be in line for hours with 2 people in line, right? So when you go to Chick-fil-A, they have a system in place. And that's one of the things that Ms. Lakeisha did a great job tonight, showing you from an HR standpoint, the things that you all have to have in place. I encourage you all, because she was able to drop some seeds tonight, y'all, on some fertile ground with these businesses that was in attendance, right? I encourage you, if time permits, you need to make it to the conference, y'all. It's going to be some great speakers there. She already named off. It's going to be a great behind the scene events when we have, some sessions to be able to get into more details. So obviously, we want to afford these opportunities to you because we know due to COVID, a lot of people was exposed on not being prepared and they missed out on a whole lot of opportunities. And we're fortunate as a consultant to sit in the seat to help you be in line And we have great leadership like Miss Lakeisha and her team at Chief of Minds, man. So again, we just want to continue to encourage you all to stay committed, to stay focused. And you have a team of consultants like myself and all the other panelists that's on today to better help you in those agendas, right? So Ms. Mann, I'm gonna pass it back on to you. And obviously, if there's any questions anyone have, please feel free to ask them right now.
Yes, if you guys have any questions for Kenyatta, please send them in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm just looking to see if we have any that are coming through. I know we had some chat going on. Okay, I don't see any. Kenyatta, do you want to share your email in case anyone has any questions that they want to send in the future?
Absolutely. Hey man, I'm a firm believer. You know that there was no questions, right? That go to tell you how great of a job Mr. Keisha did, man. I'm trying to tell you. Boy,
Yes,
you got no questions to ask. Well, I'm trying to tell you that means everything.
Everything. If
Keep
there's
on
no
it,
question,
y'all.
yes.
Hey, there you go. I put my information in there. Listen, that's my direct line. Obviously, you know, I always like to make myself accessible. So that calls directly to me. If I'm not able to answer, that means I'm helping somebody. So that means I will get back with you as soon as possible, but it will go to my cell phone as well. And that's also my email. So feel free to reach out to me. Anything I can do, you know, one of the things that me and Mr. Keisha did a live as well, man. I think it went extremely well. And she asked me a question about what's one of the most challenges that most people have with this program. And the biggest thing that I've seen initially is that they're intimidated by the application process. So I've stepped up to offer all individuals that's interested to walk you through that entire process, to not let you go through it by yourself, to remove all intimidation. And it's really fill in the blank, y'all. And I say that because I've been doing it long enough to say, with, you know, not trying to just downplay or take away from any concerns you may have, but it's really fill in the blank and it's really easy. And I'll walk you through it, you know, question by question, step by step. So please reach out to me. Any questions you have pertaining to the program, you know, I'm ready. Like they say, like they be talking about them big company. I'm ready, willing, and able, y'all. I'm ready, right? So just give me a call and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Well, again, we thank you both for joining the live. Again, thank you all for your patience. And that concludes this webinar for tonight. You guys, please stay tuned for our next webinar. We will actually be discussing SBA with Mr. Ted James. So we are excited about that. And we will be sending out information on social and via email. So you guys have a great night and thank you for joining.
You have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You're welcome. Have a good one.